Okay, so today is Wednesday, April 8th, 2020, and here is today's Q&A. The class today was on plot structure and how we might use that on the AP test. But we will also take questions about practice essay number 6. So if you have questions about either topic or about anything else related to the class, you can go ahead and send those via Remind, or you can type them into the live chat. Well, hello, Freddie. Doing very well, thank you. And yourself? The rest of you, would you come and go ahead and introduce yourself? So I know that if your question pops up on Remind, I'll go ahead and answer it. I've gotten, since between yesterday and today, I guess we'll start talking about the essay. I've gotten some questions about how to submit the essay. Well, you should have an option of how to add a file to your submission when you turn it in. So take a picture of your essay after you've written it and marked all the parts of the outline that are on it. Hook, everything from the hook, context thesis, all the way to the restated thesis and the so what. Once you've marked all of those things, go ahead and take a picture of it. And if it's more than one page, take a picture of each page and upload those files and then click Turn In. And we will do revisions of those next week, but the first draft of that will be the last grade for the 5th 6 weeks. And if you have questions about the topic or anything like that, obviously send in Remind, come into a Q&A and ask. I'm going to send out a survey in a little bit about whether it would be helpful also to have a Q&A maybe in the evening one day, because I know some people are working during the day. So pay attention to that. Just be a yes or no survey monkey. And if we get enough yeses, then probably tomorrow's Q&A will be something around 7 p.m. instead of now. Or maybe we'll do two. We'll do an 11:50 and a 7 p.m. Questions about this class. Mariah asked about the homework. Yes, there's a passage that they put up for you to read, and then there's a chart as far as plot structures, which the chart basically asks the 4 sets of questions that the teacher asked during the class. Those 4 sets of questions submitted. Yes, Syra. Reflections for April 8th is going to be extra credit. A lot of people have, shall we say, not done well in some of the reading quizzes. Some people haven't been able to get all the assignments done. So today's reflection is worth up to 50 points. Not just 50 points if you fill it out, but 50 points if you do a good job. And so those 50 points would go toward wherever you needed them in your daily grades. Tomorrow, we'll have another class. Some reflections for April 9th would also be up to 50 bonus points that we could add. So you could turn a 0 into a 100 if you do today's work and tomorrow's work. Also, tomorrow morning, we will have the quiz over chapters 13 through 15 of Brave New World up in Socrative from 9 to 10. Some of you have asked me to put it up at different times because of your work schedule. And if you send me a message that says, hey, can you open this quiz? Yeah, it's two buttons to push to open a quiz. So it's pretty easy. So we can do that. But the only thing is I can only have one quiz open at a time. But, I'll open it for you for, 15 minutes or so. We can get that done. Let's see. Okay, so Freddie asks, what are the best ways to detect a shift in the author's speed? Well, think about a time when someone's told you a story and they keep stopping, like they keep going off in different directions, like they add details that you don't think that they need, that you don't think that they need to include, and so it's frustrating you because you want to get to the answer, you know. And sometimes this is done on purpose to build suspense. You know, you get home from school or you get home from work, and your mom or dad says, "Hey, guess what?" And of course, you want to know what it is, but you know, then they say, "Oh, your grandmother called, and she's going to be in town for a week, and isn't that going to be great?" But that's not the guess what. And then, or you know, they want you to take out the trash, or you know, there's something that they want to do to put it off and build that suspense until they drive you nuts. In the example that the teacher put up from the novel Gilead, they highlighted some sentences that showed where the narrator slowed down to tell us what he or she was thinking about the situation instead of just telling us what was happening. So the best way to detect a shift in an author's speed is, okay, what's happening? What is the rate of action? Also, look at the length of phrases and sentences. Like in the second example, the one from The Secret History, which is a great book, by the way. If you're sitting around wondering, what's a book I can read? Which I know a lot of you aren't. A lot of you are sitting around thinking, oh my God, there's 9 of us in this house, and this house just gets smaller every day, and we're all, you know, fighting over this Chromebook so we can all do this work. So this may not be you. But if you're sitting around thinking, you know, is there a book I could read? It's called The Secret History. It's by Donna Tartt, Tartt, and it's a great novel to read as far as showing us what characters are like, what people are like, and you're kind of like, wow, these are some messed up people. But in the example they gave us from The Secret History, the highlighted details there don't slow the story down. They're introduced in bursts of 2 or 3 words at a time, and you know that. So the stacking the details, it's kind of like when you know, you ask that 5-year-old cousin, brother, sister, "Hey, what did you get? What did you get for your birthday?" "Oh, I got this, I got this, I got this, and I got this, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened." You know, that quick pace shows excitement and urgency. So look for those things. What's happening in what you're reading? Are things happening quickly or not? Is the narrator stopping down to tell you what they're thinking? Look at the length of the sentences and phrases, and those will tell you the speed. And when those things change, when sentences get longer or slower, when phrases get longer or slower, that will tell you that things are changing speed in the narrative. One important point I wanted to bring up from the class, when they talk about the word excerpt, EXCERPT, what that means is an excerpt is a passage that you've taken out of something larger. And you are going to be dealing with an excerpt on the test. On the one essay that you're going to have to write, it's going to be an excerpt from a novel. It might be from the very beginning. You know, when we read Palomino Molero and Brave New World together, one of the passages we did for close reading for each of those books was the very beginning, because you know the author put some attention to it. In The Great Gatsby, you know, we didn't really spend too much time looking at the beginning, because the first 4 or 5 pages, it does set the table a little bit. As far as, you know, showing us what Nick is like. But if you can't just make yourself just sit down and read through those first 4 or 5 pages, you're going to miss the book, because you're going to be like, this is boring. So, you know, we didn't deal with that as an excerpt. So, but you're going to deal with an excerpt. So so good questions to ask yourself, like that teacher said on the class today. Why do you think they chose to start here? And you can go back and look at all of the close reading work that we've done. Why do you think, like when I've picked passages, I mean, there are reasons that I had for picking the starting point and ending points of passages. And it's not just so it would all fit on one page. You'll notice that sometimes the font size is larger than others, you know, because, you know, I've wanted to make sure you got all of the passage. So why do you think that unit was chosen? And that's something to think about on the test, because you'll read that introductory paragraph that tells you information about the novel that you're going to write about. And then you'll read, okay, then the task. Then think about, okay, why? If we're writing about this theme, in this case, for Practice Essay 6, you're writing about the theme of the use of technology to force people to or to cause people to emotionally disconnect from one another. Um, why do you think I chose to start the passage where I did, and why do you think I chose to end the passage where I did? And that's something that, as the teacher mentioned, that's something that you can talk about in a so what. I mean, that's another good idea. So that's just something extra for you to think about. Okay, other questions? Questions about practice essay 6, questions about the test today. I'm sorry, question about the class today, questions about the AP test. Any of those questions are fine to ask. Okay, so for those of you who are in the room, yes or no, go ahead and type in the live chat. Yes or no, how do you feel confident that you can write practice essay number 6 on the basis of the information that you have? Okay, Sarah, I'll get to your question in a minute. But everybody who's in the room, yes or no, go ahead and type it in. Do you feel confident that you can write practice essay number 6 on the basis of the information that you have now? I see that there are 12 people in the room, so I'm waiting for 12 answers. Yes or no? You feel confident that you can write the essay on the basis of the information that you have? Okay, I see 4 yeses, 1 no. Syra, is your no because you don't know about the handwriting question, or is there another question? While you're typing, I'll answer that question. I want you to write this essay out, okay? And the reason is, it may be that on May 13th, when you take your test, you have to write it because your internet's crazy. You can see the question, but then, connection keeps going crazy at your house, or whatever, and you can't type it in their platform. I would like you to have the practice one more time of writing an essay by hand in the time period. This will help some of you because you can't type very fast. But just in case, you end up handwriting this essay, I want you to do this one this way. All the other work that we've done, we've done through Google Doc and you can type. But this one I would like you to write. All right. Sarah, Freddie, and Mariella, I see no's. So let's hear why you have no's. Go ahead and put that either in the live chat or in Remind, and we'll talk about it. Okay. The prompt is confusing. Is there something specific that you find confusing, or do you just want me to walk all the way through it again? Which is fine. I'm just curious. And then Freddie, Mariella, also, okay, that's fine. We'll walk all the way through the prompt. So if you can pull up the prompt so that you're looking at it, if you have access to do it. Okay, fair enough. On the AP test, your prompt will begin with 3 paragraphs. The first paragraph is going to kind of give you introductory information about the novel that you're writing about. The second paragraph will kind of focus you more on the passage you're about to read. And then the third paragraph, basic, instructions. So let's talk about the first paragraph first. And then while I'm doing that, Mariella, if you want to go ahead and add your question to the live chat too, maybe I'll hit that while we're going through it. In many dystopian novels, the authors criticize conditions in their own society by showing how the future would change for the worse if those conditions do not improve. In Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, one of Huxley's themes is criticism of the ways in which governments were pushing the use of technology in the hopes that people would lose emotional contact with one another. Without those emotional connections, people would have no loyalty to anyone other than the government. All that's doing is introducing you to the book and giving you a first look at an idea that they're probably going to want you to talk about in the paper. Obviously, we've read the book, so we kind of have a sense of the themes, but I've set this up so it will look pretty much like what you're going to see in May. So we get that it's a dystopian novel. It's criticizing an element of society or elements of society. And here it says they're going to focus on the ways in which the government pushes the use of technology in the hopes that people would lose emotional contact with one another. That's what I would pull out of that first paragraph, because that's the theme I'm going to be looking for. Okay. Then the second paragraph gives us, turns us more intentionally toward the passage. It says, consider this passage from chapter 14, in which John the Savage goes to visit his mother, Linda, in the last minutes of her life. In what ways does the passage reflect this theme of the government working to cut off emotional ties between people? Which they don't add this again, but through the use of technology, because that's what they said in the first paragraph. So that's the answer. That's the question that you have to answer. In what ways does the passage reflect this theme of the government working to cut off emotional ties between people through the use of technology? That's the question. So in your thesis statement, that is what you would want to address. Then you get the clue sentence. You may want to include such devices as imagery and paradox in your discussion of the overall tone. Again, do you have to talk about imagery, paradox, and tone? No. But that's kind of like, when you're, at Easter and they say, oh, you may want to look behind that tree to find an egg, in years when you can have Easter egg hunts, of course. But of course, you're going to go look behind that tree, because the person who told you is the one who pretended to be the Easter bunny, right? Sorry if I spoiled somebody's Easter with that information. Okay, so so there's the question, and there are the clues. I would look at imagery and paradox. And then below, you have the passage with the outline. I would not do one body paragraph about imagery and one body paragraph about paradox. Why? Because when you do that, device, you're going to have a lot of overlap, especially since a lot of the imagery contributes to a sense of paradox in that passage. For me, I would do a body paragraph about, I would pick little moments within this larger moment. Where can I find technology that's drowning out emotions? I think you're going to need to talk about the conversation that John has with the nurse at the end of the passage to succeed on this essay, even though there's not really any explicit use of technology in what they talk about, just the way she responds to him and some of the things that he says. That's going to be huge. And I go into some more detail on this in the class video for April 7th, yesterday's class video. So if you want some more help with that, go back and look at that. It's not a very long video. But then, well, where's the technology? Well, you've got, music being piped into the room. You've got television. You've got these perfumes that get changed all the time. You've got the way the room's decorated. You've got the technology of how bodies are moved around once they do die. So you've got a lot of things you could talk about. I would focus on 2 moments within. I would do 1 moment for each of your body paragraphs, and one of those moments I would think would have to be the conversation that John and the nurse have near the end of the passage. Okay, and then once you have that stacked up, the outline's the one that it's been all year. So, and I do want you to annotate your essays with the outline, with the parts. That's going to be part of your score, whether you annotate or whether you mark your essay or not. Other questions? Or do you have more questions about the essay, or do you have questions about anything else that we've talked about? Okay, while you're thinking, I'll be right back because there's something that some of you have been asking about. So here is Wellington. Some of you asked about the dogs yesterday. I think he's about to burp, but he is very happy that he does not have to write an essay. No, Sarah, I have not heard about the 6 weeks being extended till April 24th. But that is, hold on. Let me check and see if I have an email about that. I know, being very good today. I don't have an email about that, but I will find out and I will confirm it one way or the other. I will put something up and remind today as soon as I find out for sure, one way or the other. So, so you'll have that announcement later today. But either way, the due date for the essay will remain the same, and it will be a major grade. That dog is, how old is he? 11?
Almost 11.
Almost 11. So he's almost old. He's a few years away from driving. All right, last call. Any questions? Okay, if you have questions about those essays, go ahead and get those in tomorrow. Same thing, we'll have a live class at 11 with the AP. They'll go over the homework with you. And then we'll have Q&A at 11:50. And then that'll be it as far as us meeting until Tuesday because they're school holidays. There will be AP college college classes, AP review classes online at 11 on Friday and Monday, or you can go to that channel, go back and watch other classes. That'll help you. But also, if you need to take this time to get caught up on work for all your classes, I certainly understand that. So let's see if I have a. Okay. Well, I'm texting back and forth about the grade change. You guys have a good day and stay safe. We'll see you tomorrow.